Hi everyone! This is Ishal Bulawin, the little teacher of Studyhub group number 8. In this video presentation, we will be talking about the 14 learner-centered psychological principles that were put together by the American Psychological Association, or also known as the APA. The 14 principles are divided into 4 groups and will be discussed by each of the Studyhub members. There are 3 learning outcomes as we finish this video presentation, and the first one is to fully explain what is the 14 learner-centered principle. The second one is to advocate for the use of the 14 principles in the teaching learning process. And the third one is to find ways or identify ways on how to apply the 14 learner-centered principles in instruction as a future teacher. Let us now start our discussion by identifying some of the aspects of the 14 learner-centered principles. And one of the aspects is that it focuses on the psychological factors that are primarily internal under the control of the learner. The second one is that it is intended to deal holistically. When we say holistically, it is in a way that is characterized by comprehension of the parts of the learners of what they have learned. Let's now begin our discussion with the first factor of the 14 principles, which is the cognitive and metacognitive factors. One of the factors of the cognitive and metacognitive is the nature of the learning process, and it states that the best way to study a subject matter is through creating meaning from data and experiences. The nature of the learning process also states that successful learners are active, goal-directed, self-regulating, and take personal responsibility of their individual learning contribution. The second factor of cognitive and metacognitive is the goals of the learning process, and it states that with help and instruction, the successful learner can produce coherent representation of knowledge. And to create usable representation of knowledge, the students must create and pursue personally relevant goals. Third factor of cognitive and metacognitive is the construction of knowledge, and it says that the successful learner may make meaningful connections between new material learnings and prior knowledge. Fourth factor is the strategic thinking, which states that a successful learner may develop and apply a variety of reasoning and thinking strategies to accomplish learning objectives that are challenging to a learner. The fifth factor, which is the thinking about thinking, expresses that higher order mental operations, selection, and monitoring strategies supports the learner's imaginative and analytical thinking. The sixth and the last factors of cognitive and metacognitive is the context of thinking, which states that the environmental factors that affects the student's learning includes culture, technology, and the teaching methods.
Hello everyone, my name is Hanimel Abel and my topic was all about motivational and affective factor. So in motivational and effective factor, we have 3 parts. Number 1, the motivational and emotional influences on learning. Number 2, intrinsic motivation to learn. And number 3, effects on motivation to effort. So, we will discuss first the motivational and emotional influences on learning. So, students are more motivated to engage in learning when they feel competent to do what is expected of them and perceive stable links between actions and achievement. They value the subject and have a clear sense of purpose. They experience positive emotions towards learning activities, and contrariwise, turn away from learning when they experience negative emotions. The second is intrinsic motivation to learn. So it occurs when students are engaged because of internal rewards, like a love of learning and interest in a subject. Intrinsic motivation, it is important in learning because they become more attached meaning to their work, explore new topics, and persist in the face of learning challenges. So the example of intrinsic motivation are participating in a sport because it's fun and you enjoy it, rather than doing it to win an award. And lastly, effects on motivation on effort. So motivation also leads to increased effort and energy. It also determines whether students will enthusiasm or a lackluster attitude. The motivated student has the inner strength to learn, to discover the capitalize on capabilities, and to improve academic performance to adapt to the demands of the school context. Motivation is important because it helps you solve the problems, help you cope with challenges and opportunities, help you to change old habits, and etc.
Hi everyone, my name is Patricia Jainal and I will be tackled or discuss the development and social factors. These factors contribute to the mind's growth by systematically regarding learners for their effort emotional, intellectual, and physical development are all considered developmental. So we have two principles of development and social factors. First is the developmental influence on learning. Second is the social influence on learning. But this time, we will discuss first the developmental influence on learning, of course. So, developmental influence on learning are most effective when differential development within and across physical, intellectual, emotional, and social domain take into account. Individuals learn when the materials is appropriate to their developmental level and is presented in an enjoyable and interesting way. We have many opportunities in learning process, and at the same time we have many challenges that we may encounter, especially nowadays. We are now in the new setup of learning or learning new educational system, which is online learning or what we call flexible learning. Learning is most effective when differential development within and across physical, intellectual, emotional, and social domain is taken into account. So we need to take into account the different dimensions of developmental, which is the physical, the intellectual, the emotional, and social, to interact to other people, especially to our co-students and the teachers. Individuals learn best when materials appropriate to their developmental level and is presented in an enjoyable and interesting way. So I will give you the example for this. For example, you are teaching the grade 1 students, so you need to present the object that is easily for them to understand, like for example the apple. So you may teach them 1 plus 1 is equals to 2 by presenting the object that they can easily to understand. The second principle of developmental and social factors is the social influence on learning. This social influence on learning explains that learning is influenced by social interaction, interpersonal relations, and communication with others. For example, a student may alter his or her behavior too much that of other students in a class. First bullet, learning can be enhanced when learners has an opportunity to interact and to collaborate with instructional tasks. Because interaction is a way that learners can learn with other people, and through interaction and collaboration can build up rapport and enhance your skills and knowledge. Second bullet is interactive and collaborative instructional context. This explains that individuals have an opportunity for perspective taken or reflective thinking that they may lift to a higher level of cognitive and social and moral developmental as well as self-esteem. Then the third bullet is the personal relationship that provide stability, trust, and caring and increase learners' sense of belonging, self-respect, and self-confidence and provide climate of learning because have a great and big impact to the learners in this stage. They more aware and they know already the different personal relationship that they learn from their own discovery and different behavior that they adopt. Then the fourth bullet is the family influence, positive interpersonal support and instructions and self-motivation strategies can offset factors. This explains the interfere with optimum learning such as negative beliefs and about competence and particular subject, high level of test, anxiety, negative sex rule, and passion to perform well. Then the fifth bullet is the positive learning can also help to establish the context for healthier level of thinking, feeling, and behaving. This also explains that such as a context of the learners feel safe to share the ideas, actively participate in learning process, and create all learning community. Developmental and social factors also involve community factors, parental involvement, and development experiences. So community factors, we all know that we came from different background and different cultures and we have different experiences and life, so we learn from the experience that we may encountered, or especially in the schooling when we so much experience, or we learn circumstance where we gain knowledge and experience something that may develop ourselves. Then second is the developmental involvement, and this learning, for example, you may discipline your child and you teach the right manner and good conduct. Then third and last is developmental differences, where in the developmental stages influence if they are person with disability, LGBTQ, and other developmental differences.
Good day everyone, I am Francine Lizal Sibukao, and for today's video, I will discuss to you about individual differences factor. First, what is individual differences in learning? The differences among learners are considered individual differences. Individual follows different paths as they process toward expert understanding because they learn differently based on their gender, ethnicity, learning style, previous knowledge, and experience with content, strategy, and technology. What is importance of individual differences in learning? It is important for teacher to know the variables such as physical characteristic, intelligence, perception, gender, ability, learning style, which individual differences of the learners. An effective and productive learning teaching process can be planned by considering these individual differences in differences of the students. Second, what is learning and diversity? Learning diversity refers to infinite variety of life experience and attributes a child during their formal learning at school. Educators seek to meet the needs of all learners so that every student experience success. Why is learning and adversity is important. When working and learning with the people from variety of background and cultures present in classrooms, student gains more comprehensive understanding of the subject matter. It is also teaches students how to use their own strength and point of view, contributes in diverse of working environment. Next is, what is standard and assessment in learning? Standard-based assessment lets students know against which criteria you will judge their works and the standard attached to each of these criteria. It tells students what performance is required and allows you to gain a sense of how your students are doing overall based on their achievement of these standards. Why assessment and standard importance in learning? Standard-based assessment is meant to offer a way that teachers can identify the skills that matter most, can evaluate student work fairly, can give feedback to student that is helpful and actionable, and can use data revise upcoming lesson to meet their students' needs. And that's all. Thank you.
Alexander and Murphy gave a summary of the 14 principles and distilled them into 5 areas. Number 1 is the knowledge base. Number 2, strategic processing and control. Number 3 is the motivation and effect. Number 4 is development and individual differences. And number 5 is situation or context.
Greetings everyone, my name is Dionsal J and I'll be delving into the process through which Alexander and Murphy simplified the 14 principles into a compact set of thought. Alexander Murphy gave a summary of the 14 principles and distilled them into 5. The knowledge base. This area emphasizes that existing knowledge forms the foundation for all future learning. In other words, what you already know significantly influences what and how you can learn in the future. Strategic processing and control. Here, the focus is on the learner's ability to reflect upon and control their cognitive process and behaviors to enhance their learning. It suggests that learners can develop strategies to optimize their learning experience. Motivation and effect. This area highlights the importance of motivation and emotional factors in learning. Intrinsic motivation, personal interest, reasons for learning, individual goals, and the enjoyment of learning tasks are all seen as crucial drivers of the learning process. Development and individual differences. Learning is recognized as a unique journey for each person. This is because each learner has a distinct combination of genetic and environmental factors that shape their learning abilities and situation or context. Learning doesn't occur in isolation. It takes place within a broader context. This context includes both the societal and environmental factors that influence learning. Understanding and accounting for these contextual elements is vital for a comprehensive understanding of the learning process. In summary, these 5 areas provide a comprehensive framework for understanding how people learn and how educators can tailor their approaches to accommodate the diverse needs and circumstances of learners.